Oh, guns kill. Is that right? Well, let's see about that. Okay, gun, kill. Go ahead, kill someone. Don't be shy. See? Guns don't kill people. People kill people. Guns defend people against people with smaller guns.
Disclaimer. This is about a channel I love. I will remain subscribed because it's okay to have different ideas. Remember, guys, don't harass others.
Get what you deserve! You're beautiful!
So let's get into this, guys. Illuminaughtii is a great YouTuber. I love her. She makes a lot of animation videos, a lot of interesting story videos. So I was a little shocked to see this Ben Shapiro thing pop up. I was like, whoa, where'd this come from? And I watched it, and it was pretty cringe. So I'm like, okay, let me upload it to my Cringy Cancer channel. Anyways, let's get this ball rolling.
I disagree with almost everything that comes out of his mouth, and I think he's incredibly transphobic and racist and insulting, and we'll get into why in a second.
So as you can see, she pretty much starts off immediately on the attack on Mr. Shapiro here. She already has an incredible bias against him, but she does point this out in the video. To be fair, she does point it out. And a lot of these accusations are almost entirely baseless. The only thing she goes over is kind of the transphobia, using a out of context clip where he isn't advocating anything against transgendered people or against their rights. He's actually just defending his own right to have his own belief and say whatever pronouns he decides to use with his own body. My body, my choice, my lips, my words, right?
He's a pro-gun advocate, and during a debate with Piers Morgan, he accused Morgan of standing on the graves of the children of Sandy Hook to bully and demonize pro-gun advocates. First of all, what the fuck? No one is standing on the graves of children. That's an incredibly messed up thing to say. Secondly, Piers Morgan and others like him are justifiably concerned that this is going to happen again so long as it's so easy to purchase a gun.
So here we move on to the Piers Morgan thing, which I can agree. I mean, it's a little bit insensitive, but it is just a figure of speech, and it's really not that big of a deal. He's saying that Piers Morgan is using a tragedy, politicizing it to push an agenda they already believed, and he really is standing on deaths of these kids to push his ideas forward. Ideas which he already believed, and ideas that can be shot down using facts and logic, as Ben Shapiro would say.
I think the way Shapiro debates is really rude, and it undermines any point he actually might be trying to make.
But here, she's clearly just stating her opinion. I mean, it's nothing more but opinionated banter against a man who you despise and disagree with so much that it forms your entire perspective on this man. He's not rude, he's just blunt.
Medical News Today states, gender is more difficult to define, but it can refer to the role of a male or female in society, known as a gender role, or an individual's concept of themselves or gender identity. Sometimes, a person's genetically assigned sex does not line up with their gender identity. These individuals might refer to themselves as transgender, non-binary, or gender non-conforming.
So back to it, Ben Shapiro isn't saying these people shouldn't exist, or that they don't exist, or that they should be oppressed. He's simply saying that, like, listen, I don't know your pronouns, I don't have to use your pronouns, I am very religious, I have my ideas, my beliefs, you're either male or female, and my lips are going to be saying these things. It's that simple. I mean, he's not hating or disliking or attacking anybody. But what I think is that these people are very sensitive, and they might take it as an attack. They don't know what a real attack is. There's countries where you're beheaded and thrown off the side of a roof. That's an attack, my friend. You know, that's kind of part of being in a first world privileged society. These kids don't really understand the horrors they could be facing. Instead, they're crying because someone has an opinion and they are religious and might disagree with their ideas and might use the wrong word, right? Oh, it's the end of the world. You used the wrong word, bud. Grow up.
It's not that difficult a concept to understand if you think of it as a spectrum, listen to some transgender people's stories, or are open to seeing the way you think differently. But Shapiro simply doesn't see it that way.
I actually have to agree with her. I do believe that people can identify as whatever they want. I know people who identify as horses, you know. Good for you, man. That's dope. But I'm not calling you clip-clop, okay? Now, with a, you know, gender non-conforming person, I actually will respect the pronouns just out of respect, right? Like, sure. But I also understand Ben Shapiro's point. See, this is why I'm a centralist. I see both sides. Like, come on, Ben, don't be a dick, you know. But at the same time, it's like, hold up. Ben has the right to say whatever he wants and believe whatever he wants. You can't enforce his thoughts and his ideas upon him. That is just terrible. You can't do that. Live your life, live your best life, and you do you, okay? Sometimes the world just doesn't agree with you, man. Just let it go. It's not that hard.
And I think we get the point here. Gotta love how Shapiro argues, oh, white males don't get to talk about the system because they built it. And yet, he's a white male that has gained success by talking about the system.
It is so funny how she completely ignores the fact that he is Jewish. He was a second-class citizen in this country until like the 90s in many states, okay? And it actually proves his point when you do this, because you are actually ignoring the 6 million dead Jews, the fact that they couldn't go to the beach or hang out with white people. They were treated like scum by many civilizations throughout time. But you know what? You just degrade him to a white male, and then just you toss aside the fact that his people have suffered so greatly. And it proves his point. You don't think he's oppressed, so you treat him differently, right? As opposed to being an oppressed person. And then you laugh about it. And I really think that's just funny as fuck, how he's completely owned you. It's pretty great.
I'm going to get into real accounts of school shootings and debunk this movie as we go along.
So she seems to be pretty obsessed with debunking a fictional movie, which doesn't really make any sense. It's a fictional movie, but she constantly keeps referring to debunking, and it's not accurate, it's not factual. Yes, we know that. That's what all movies are, okay? Unless it's a documentary, it's fiction.
To play devil's advocate with this movie for just a moment, couldn't a gun control advocate argue that with better restrictions, no one would have to save the day at all? Isn't it better that no shooting occurs in the first place, as opposed to a different person with a weapon saving the day after students are already injured or killed?
Do you really believe for 1 second that guns are the only thing that can kill people? Dude, China has mass stabbings in schools, okay? India, even London overtook New York as in crime just through stabbings, okay? You have bottles, you have cars plummeting into people. Mass killers are deranged. They have a mental illness, a serious one that needs to be treated. The answer is not punishing your entire civilization because of the actions of a very, very, very minor few. I mean, you're talking about not that many people dying over the last decade. And while they are tragedies, my friend, you are absolutely ignoring reality to think that guns are the only cause of death, that guns are the only method of killing. Buddy, that's just not accurate. In other words, banning guns is not a cure-all. It's not a magic pill. There's still going to be massacres because guess what? Fundamentally, your people are sick and they're not being taken care of. All right? That's the real problem.
In April of 2020, Donna Hay, co-producer of A Ghost Story and the Cinestate films Satanic Panic, VFW, and Run, Hide, Fight, was arrested on suspicion of sexual assault of a minor after a woman in the Texas film scene came forward alleging he'd raped her when she was 16.
So now she's getting to something I can agree with, right? One of the three producers is a pervert with allegations against him made that he was being weird and perverted with a girl. I mean, that's fucking terrible. I mean, who would like that, you know? So that is weird, man. I mean, that sucks. But she forgets to mention that it's with an outside company who was streamlined, who had experience in the movie industry, and therefore they were hired to make the movie. I mean, that's like blaming everyone around Kevin Spacey. That's like blaming everyone around Harvey Weinstein or Dan Schneider, that guy that did iCarly, you know. It's sad, you know, there's people like this in the world, but you can't really just start blaming everyone, whoever associated with them. That's just absolutely idiotic. But I do agree, this is just weird. It sucks that this person had this power and access to other people. But it is what it is. I mean, that just sucks.
Now, if these were the kind of people that worked on this movie, I mean, I wouldn't support it for that reason alone. In the trailer, the main character Zoe and her father were hunting deer. Well, this movie can't say no animals were harmed in the making of this movie because they actually broke a bunch of codes in order to get that specific hunting shot.
Are you serious right now? Like, this is the best you got? They broke some codes according to SAG. Well, you know what's funny though is that Texas is a non-union state, and SAG is a registered union in California, but this was done in Texas, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're pulling at the dumbest strings I can possibly imagine. It's like you didn't do any research. You probably didn't. I mean, this is mostly an opinionated hit piece. But yeah, do some more research next time. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with hunting. It's so dumb.
During pre-production, Rose, the makeup artist, was shocked to learn that a skeleton crew had gone off and filmed the slaughter of a deer, which it is the legal harvest of a registered buck, and that the SAG-AFTRA took no issue with the episode.
So I sped forward, and as you can see from what SAG-AFTRA said, they didn't do anything wrong. It's so funny because she says a lot. I actually cut out like 3 minutes, but she goes on and on about this particular thing, and it's a dead end. It doesn't go anywhere. So anyways, I fast forwarded. At the end of the day, it's just so stupid. I mean, it's so dumb.
Like, I promise I entered into this with the least amount of bias that I possibly could.
I disagree with almost everything that comes out of his mouth, and I think he's incredibly transphobic and racist and insulting, and we'll get into why in a second. I'm going to get into real accounts of school shootings and debunk this movie as we go along.
So that was a lie.
So she finally gets to the real part where she's going to start analyzing the movie. By the way, it's been 15 minutes in the actual video, and she is just now getting to the actual movie analysis. It's been 15 minutes of just non-relenting, opinionated, baseless accusations and attacks. It's just, that's why I had to make this video. It's just so stupid. So anyways, immediately she lies, as you saw from that, just immediately on a lie. So let's keep going. It just gets funnier and dumber.
In over 80% of school shootings, the attacker acts alone.
So she goes right back into hyper-analyzing how realistic this fictional movie is. Okay, so she starts throwing statistics at us like, and 80% it's alone. Well, 20% of the time it's not alone. And out of that, 5% of the time it's more than 3 people. So she's really tugging at strings and really just, it's fiction, dude. It's not a real thing, right?
As if it's not sad enough that they're only paying him $12 an hour to protect our school, they expect you to do it without a fucking gun?
Stop using a school shooting movie to make a political point. For fuck's sake, stop it.
This is so funny because the dude is completely correct. Why does a guard not have a gun to protect people, right? But she doesn't go against that. She doesn't even try to debate it. She just rages. It just pisses her off. How dare you? How dare you make a political point using a very proper situation that a gun could have helped? You know, it's true. It is true. If the security guard had a gun, if more people had guns, it would have prevented this whole thing. That's just a factual thing. But she doesn't go after it. She just gets pissed. Doesn't try to debate it. Doesn't try to question it. She's just going around it. And that's what she's doing really this whole time. She's not actually properly addressing or presenting any information. It's all going through a biased filter, and which is why I had to make this video.
And turning this into some kind of like weird action movie is exactly what future shooters would want. They want to be glorified, they want their names to be said, and they want to be commemorated publicly for the shit that they did.
Again, this is not a real movie. It's not saying the names of any shooters, and most of all, it's not glorifying the shooters themselves either.
And before I get people trying to dispute with me the whole gang-like thing and tell me about the Columbine shooting because there were 2 people there, again, that is unprecedented, horrific, and atypical of a normal situation.
You know what else is unprecedented, horrific, and atypical? Every single school shooting that has ever happened. Your point makes no sense.
Also, please note, this article isn't calling Chris gay as an insult. The movie literally states that the 2 were together, which, you know, of course, the only gay couple explicitly shown are the shooters, which also statistically is not factual either.
There's nothing homophobic about it. You're pulling at strings, dude. Like hardcore. It was just a writing plot device. That's it. And second of all, that pretty much concludes this whole thing. She stops around here, and yeah, there's a lot to be said here. This is definitely a long video because she is just talking out her ass. I mean, I love her channel. She does some great stuff about MLMs and stuff, but wow, this video is just so terrible, man. I mean, she's really, really biased. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything this biased before. And it's a lot of self-contradictions, even in her own data and her own charts. And her points are just that it's not real. It's like, yeah, we know it's a fucking movie. What do you think? You think we came at this expecting this to be a real life situation? No. All right. And she goes into the details about how this isn't the proper way of surviving a school shooting. Yeah, we know this is not a school shooter survival guide. This is just a movie with a main character, a situation, and solving that. You know, what we did back in elementary school where we had to like write plots. Yeah, this is just a plot of a movie. Okay, yeah, of course it has some pro-gun stuff. It's Ben Shapiro's movie, but guess what? It kind of makes a point, right? Why don't the security guards have guns? It doesn't make any sense, right? And but most of all, I think it's just meant to be entertainment and to bring in money, bring in revenue. But you know what? I guess it's only okay to include your political opinion if you agree with it. It's only if you agree with it, then it should exist. But if you don't agree with it, you know what? It is absolutely unjust, uncalled for, and inappropriate. I mean, it's a sensitive topic, right? But when you make that movie Rampage, where the dude's just massacring children and women and all that, that's totally cool, right? Liberals were all for that, you know, and including pornography, all that decensoring. That's awesome. You could totally do that. No, but this one specific movie about this one specific thing, oh, that's crossing the line now, buddy. I mean, liberals can't make up their minds on this shit, dude. It's just stupid. It's just really, really stupid. I mean, and what's funny is I did a lot of research on the Sandy Hook shooter. The man was very, very messed up. I mean, he had I think Asperger's. He was just not right in the head, like, significantly. And that's where I believe the problem is, because you look at China, you see the same situation. You look at Mexico, they might not have guns, dude, but they're messed up in the head and they attack people with bottles, knives, anything really, trucks. Those are mentally deranged people. And I mean, seriously, I mean, lots of people are fine, but these specific people did not get the help that they needed. And blaming guns for all of it is childish and incorrect. It's just wrong. You can take away guns, it's still going to happen, and still has happened in countries that did that. But I think the narrative is to take away guns. I'm not sure if it's a mix of virtue signaling, leftism, or honestly, I think maybe there's conspiracies that there's bigger strings tugging at this, strings that want power, strings that don't want a people who have power and therefore seek to take away the guns. And I'm not sure how accurate that is, but there does seem to be a lot of money headed toward one opinion, one perspective, one narrative regarding guns. And I think that's where I draw the line. And that's where I stand up with the right side. Because guns, they do a lot of good. A lot of bad and a lot of good. It depends who's holding those guns. And I'm telling you right now, bad people, they don't drop their guns. So don't take them away from good people.